Throughout history, the greatest minds have spoken about power, its meaning, its danger, and its truth. Plato once said, "The true measure of a person is what they do when given power." Aristotle reminded us, only those who have learned to obey can truly command. Machiavelli taught, it is better to be feared than loved when you cannot be both. Thomas Hobbes observed, power is the present ability to achieve what we desire in the future. John Locke warned, when the rule of law ends, tyranny begins. Friedrich Nietzsche declared, the will to power is the essence of life itself. Michel Foucault believed, power exists everywhere because it comes from everywhere. Rousseau wrote, no one is strong enough to rule forever, unless strength becomes justice and obedience becomes duty. Spinoza said, the drive to preserve one's own being is the foundation of all virtue. Karl Marx explained, the ruling ideas of any age are the ideas of its ruling class. Julius Caesar declared, it is better to create than to learn. Creation is the essence of life. Augustus Caesar advised, move quickly, but with patience, make haste slowly. Marcus Aurelius reflected, you have power over your own mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Alexander the Great said, I do not fear an army of lions led by a sheep. I fear an army of sheep led by a lion. Napoleon Bonaparte confessed, power is my mistress. I have worked too long for her to let anyone take her away. Louis XIV proclaimed, I am the state. Frederick the Great declared, only by taking great risks can we achieve great things. Catherine the Great said, power without the confidence of the people is nothing. Charlemagne taught, to know another language is to possess another soul. Genghis Khan commanded, if you are afraid, do not act. But once you act, never be afraid. George Washington warned, tyranny grows easily when liberty is abused. Abraham Lincoln said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you truly want to test a man's character, give him power. Theodore Roosevelt advised, speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far. Franklin Roosevelt reminded, freedom depends on a government strong enough to protect the people, and a people strong enough to control their government. John F. Kennedy said, those who make peaceful change impossible make violent change inevitable. Richard Nixon remarked, to make beautiful music, you must play both the black and the white notes together. Margaret Thatcher said, being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. Lord Acton observed, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Winston Churchill echoed this truth throughout his life. Barack Obama reminded us through Frederick Douglass's words, power yields nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. Albert Einstein once said, force always attracts those of low morality. Isaac Newton reflected, if I have seen farther, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Galileo Galilei said, all truths are easy to understand once discovered. The challenge is discovering them. Marie Curie taught, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Stephen Hawking warned, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. Francis Bacon declared, knowledge itself is power. Charles Darwin explained, it is not the strongest or the smartest who survive, but those most willing to change. Nikola Tesla said, let the future tell the truth and judge each of us by our work. Carl Sagan believed, science is not just knowledge, It is a way of thinking. Richard Feynman cautioned, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." Mahatma Gandhi said, "The day the power of love replaces the love of power, the world will know peace." Pericles declared, "Freedom is the sure possession of those who have the courage to defend it." Seneca taught, "Power over others is weakness disguised as strength." Cicero reminded us, "The welfare of the people is the highest law." Heraclitus said, "Character is destiny." Nelson Mandela declared, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice." Frederick Douglass proclaimed, "Power yields nothing without a demand." It never did, and it never will. Malcolm X reminded, "Power never steps back, except in the presence of greater power." Desmond Tutu said, "If you are neutral in times of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." Throughout the ages, power has shaped empires, guided thought, and tested the hearts of those who hold it. Remember this truth: real power begins within the mind, tempered by wisdom, and measured by how it serves others. Power shapes all things.